check this out.
Are you guys here at the White House in full-blown freak-out mode?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
There's a Politico
Peter?
story. It sounds like Democrats outside, the quote is, Biden's stubbornly poor polling and the stakes of the election are creating the freak-out.
So, again, I'm going to be mindful. I'm not going to comment on 2024 election. I will say this. The president has never forgotten where he came from.
Got a mic right now?
I drop it. He understands what the American people are going through as they're sitting around the kitchen table. You hear the president talk about his time growing up, where he watched his family having to sit around the kitchen table, making incredibly difficult decisions. And the president has always said he's going to fight for communities that have been forgotten. And you see that in the policies, economic policies that he's put forward. He's going to continue to fight for the middle class. He's going to continue to fight in every way that he can. You heard me at the beginning talk about junk fees, incredibly important. And he's going to continue to fight and to make sure that corporation greed doesn't continue to take hold. That is something that he's been very clear about.
This is not true. This is not true at all.
Republicans are doing the opposite. They put out a policy where they want to give a big tax break to the wealthiest among us, billionaires and corporations. That's not what the president wants to do.
On another topic, why did President Biden have a private meeting with a witness who plans to testify in court against his son?
Can you say more?
Hallie Biden is a key government witness who allegedly disposed of a gun that Hunter is accused of buying illegally. President Biden was at her house.
The president actually spoke to this yesterday during his memorial, I think impactful, powerful Memorial Day address, where he talked about the passing, the anniversary, the 9th anniversary of the passing of his son. And he visited her as that anniversary is approaching. He visited her days before the anniversary of the passing of his son. And she is family. She was married, obviously, to his late son. And I think that is something also to mention as you're asking your question to me.
So they did not talk about her testimony?
This was not about that. This was about literally the 9th anniversary of the passing of his son. That is upcoming in days.
That's a damn lie.
We learned today there's going to be a book coming out this summer by London Roberts. According to the press release, the book is about protecting the long unacknowledged grandchild of the sitting president of the United States. Do you know if President Biden has met that grandchild yet?
I don't have anything to share.
And given something is scheduled to begin on Monday, I'm curious, how does the president plan to monitor the federal trial of his son, which is set to begin on Monday?
Look, I don't have anything specific to share about that. I'm always very mindful on speaking to that. I will say what I have said many times before. The president and the first lady, they love their son. They are proud of how their son has been able to get back on his feet and continue his progress, and they will continue to support him. Outside of that, I don't have anything to share.
You don't know if he's planning to try to attend in person at all?
I don't have anything to share. As you just stated, next week is also incredibly important foreign policy travel, where we are going to obviously be in France for the anniversary of D-Day. So the president looks forward to doing that, to being in France. Obviously, the First Lady will be going as well, as there's a state dinner component, as you know, in France. But I just don't have anything to share beyond what I'm just laying out for you right now.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
As Ed mentioned, there's quite a bit of travel scheduled for the remainder of the week. Is there a plan in place for aides to update the president on the outcome of his predecessor's criminal trial? Is he going to be watching any?
The president is, I mean, this is truly, the president is focused on what's in front of him right now, which is dealing with what's important for the American people, whether it's national security efforts or domestic policy, and that's the president's focus. I don't have anything to read out on the president's plan on watching a trial. That is just not something that he's focused on. He's focused on the American people, and that's what he's been focused on. Look, I'm not going to speak to a presidential candidate. Obviously, the former president is a candidate in 2024. I do not speak on trials. It's not something that I do from here, an ongoing trial, ongoing proceedings, legal proceedings. I don't have a...
Beep, beep. Oh my God, what's going on? Beep, 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 beep. My bullcrap meter's going crazy. Beep, 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 beep.
Can you give us the president's latest
thinking on the border EO and what actions he plans to take? You've taken smaller, targeted actions in the past few weeks.
Yeah.
How's it looking?
So look, you're right. The president has taken some actions, not just the past 2 weeks, but over the last 3 years to deal with what we're seeing at the border, a decades long issue with a broken system at the border. As you know, just last week, that legislation, that bipartisan legislation that we believed if the president had an opportunity to sign that legislation would have been the toughest, the fairest piece of legislation that we have seen to deal with the border in some time. And so it failed because Republicans, by their own admission, are putting electoral politics ahead of the American people. And there were things in that legislation that would have made a difference. And so it is unfortunate that happened. And you saw from the president's statement, congressional Republicans do not care about securing the border or fixing America's broken immigration system. If they did, they would have voted for the toughest border enforcement in history. That comes directly from the president in a statement.
It stinks!
We will continue, to your question, we'll continue to evaluate all options at hand and looking at what we can do within our authorities, within the president's authorities. Don't have anything to announce at this time, but it is unfortunate that Republicans who came to the table, who wanted to work out and deal with an issue, a challenging issue, the border, they voted against their own policies, their own interests, and put electoral politics first, and that is unfortunate.
Are you of the mind, though, that an EO, like one sort of big
We're going to look
move
at
is the option, or more piecemeal?
like we continue to do, and we have done, and you just mentioned, just recently we've taken some actions. We are going to look at all of our options and try to figure out what is the right thing to do on behalf of the American people. That is something that the president has been consistent on and will continue to do.
You know nothing.
Georgia. Today, the ruling party in Georgia overrode President Zurabishvili's veto to so-called Foreign Influence Act, Foreign Influence Bill. What's your reaction to this, and what President Biden's message to Georgians who want to be aligned with the West, not with Russia?
So we talked about this a little bit last week when we saw the protesters, thousands of Georgians protesting. And so I will say this, we are disappointed to see the Georgian parliament override the Georgian president's veto of the anti-democratic foreign agents bill. Although the vote was not unexpected, as I just mentioned, we've all seen the tens of thousands Georgian protesting this bill just last week, which are some of the largest protests in Georgia's history. And we know that many Georgians made their opposition very clear, very clear. This legislation will require civil society organizations to register as agents of foreign government, simply for accepting 20% of their funding from a board. Civil society organizations play a vital role in preserving democracies, and creating this burden undermines their ability to do so. Stifling civil society is what authoritarian governments do. And it is a tool to quell dissent and silent tactics. It is not what democracies do. So we are disappointed to see what has occurred.
Okay.